Welcome to this premiere of Women of the U Golden Girl. My name is TsiTsi Wakhisi. I am a professor of practice at the School of Communication here at the University of Miami, and I have the privilege of serving as your moderator today for this intriguing conversation. Women of the U is on a mission to build community among University of Miami students, faculty, staff, alumni, families, and supporters. We work to identify, discern, and solidify shared interests and connect the community with women's initiatives within and around the university. We thank you for joining us as we continue to foster engagement through programming like today's premiere, Golden Girl, Breaking the Mold, featuring Lynn Vinocur Wilson. We will take an in-depth look into Lynn's life, beginning as a scholarship recipient during her undergraduate years and starting her design firm at the age of 27. Lynn became one of the world's top luxury hotel designers. She's here to tell us how she did it and the lessons she learned along the way. Welcome, Lynn, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's so wonderful to have you here to share your story with our alumni, our students. And so I was wondering, can we first start with how did you come to attend the University of Miami?
So it was the most wonderful day in my life because it was the beginning of a whole new opportunity for me. I could not have gone to college unless I had gotten a scholarship. So when I was in high school at Miami High, they did offer one scholarship, and I tried very hard to hope that that would be lucky and I would be the winner. When I interviewed several times and made the various cuts, the last interview was the head of the department had a concern because actually I grew up with not a lot of financial security in my family. My father was very ill, and I would not have been able to go to the university without the scholarship. And their concern was that I might be so inadequately able to compensate for my supplies, art supplies, books, clothes, transportation. And so they were afraid to give me the scholarship because, of course, they were concerned I'd drop out. And they have to be, of course, there's one scholarship, and they want to make sure it's well taken care of.
So what did you do to supplement your income while you were working on your degree in liberal arts?
It was amazing. I had experience in off-Broadway productions, and I was a dancer, a professional model while I was in high school, and there was an opportunity to appear in Barbara Walters' father had big productions, large French imported productions with wonderful Hollywood stars. And that at that time, Miami Beach was really incredible. And I had the opportunity to work at night and go to school during the day. So I took 25 to 28 credits a semester. And then my one night off was Monday night. And I went to school on Monday night as well as all my day classes. So I didn't really have any time off.
Oh my goodness. So what did you do over on Miami Beach when you say you were in performances?
Well, it was large productions, Broadway type of shows.
Were you dancing, singing?
Dancing. A FEMC, who is a speaker that walks on and announces the next acts. I sang, I danced.
Where did this talent come from?
My father and mother were both in show business, so they were from New York. My mother, at age 15, went to New York. She was a dancer. She became a rockette. And my father had his own orchestra. He was from Russia and had studied music his whole life. And he was on Broadway, and they met on the stage, off stage. So that's the beginning of their career. And thus I was able to use my experience to help compensate me.
That's wonderful. And so you had this extracurricular activity, well, more than extracurricular activity. You're working, you're going to school full time. Did you have any time at all to get involved in extracurricular activities here?
I was full of energy. Well, I had always wanted to be a cheerleader in high school, but out of the 85 girls that tried out for cheerleading, I think I was the third cut, meaning more than 80 of them made it. So I wasn't too hopeful, but I had to do it because I decided that high school, I was kind of the perfect nerd. I was shy, I wasn't popular, I was not best dressed or best dancer or any of the wonderful things that to high school students seem so important. But I said, this is my chance to change my life, and nobody knows what I did before, so I'll just go out with all this energy. And when I tried out for cheerleading and I jumped up in the air to do our pre-somersault and hand sprints, it was like I was flying. I say the angels came and picked me up. Anyway, I was a cheerleader for 4 years. I was in lots of campus activities, sororities, homecoming. I was Orange Bowl Princess. I was Miss Hialeah.
I think you had a lot more experiences than many University of Miami students at that time.
Yeah, it was great.
So then I understand that you met someone special when you were while you were cheerleading.
Well, of course, being on the football field was very wooed by some of the football players, and one of them was my husband-to-be, Larry Wilson, who is an all-star baseball and football star. He became football coach at Miami and played baseball for the Chicago Cubs and the Oakland Athletics when we were married. We first went to Germany, and then we went into the professional baseball system and did that for several years.
Amazing. And so you graduated, you attended here between 1958 and 1962. You achieved a degree in BA in liberal arts and a master's in international history, art, and architecture. How did you get interested in interior designs and working, doing hotels?
Well, I was very conscious of the need to support my family and myself. So that was much of a priority, and I tried to take as many credits and fulfill as many different career opportunities. So commercial art, commercial renderings, interior design, interior architecture, and I really always wanted to be an architect. It was a dream and a wish that I do that, and it was very exciting to be able to take all the design courses at the university's architectural department. But since I was an arts and science major, my scholarship was in liberal arts, they would not allow me to be an architectural student. That was a separate division. But I did take as many of the courses that they would allow me to. And ironically, of all the advertising and art history and painting and fine arts and everything that I did in order to create a career, the one that did me the best opportunity was the interior architecture. And I became a hotel specialist. My very first jobs were 2 hotels and 4 restaurants, but 600-seat restaurants. And hotels
here in South Florida?
In upstate New York.
In upstate New York,
right.
Okay.
So that started it. I wound up having offices in Miami, Coral Gables, right here,
okay,
and Los Angeles, and New York. And then I had a satellite office in London and Paris for several years as I was doing work in Europe.
So how did you come to start your own business? What was the impetus behind that you said, I wanted to not work for somebody else, but to have my own? Did you take business courses, for example?
I took no business courses or hire math in order to have an understanding of accounting and financing and all the important things that are always top on the list of needs. So I was not an engineer, but I became a design architect and became extremely successful and wound up in the top 10 in the world for several years, even third at one point. Well, that's not an easy thing to do, but I'd say the education at Miami was spectacular. But really self-motivation, a proper attitude, success through integrity, doing a really good job, giving the client more than he expected. I mean, I did my own contracts. I started a procurement company, and word of mouth, things just got more interesting, and I wound up traveling the world. And it was especially personally very important to me because as a woman, I was in an area that was closed to women. In fact, the architectural school had no women in it. So I was the first one to graduate with any classes at all in architecture. And ironically, when I went out in the job market, the best of the companies that interviewed me wouldn't hire me.
Why is that?
They said I was too qualified, over-talented. They were afraid that I would...
Too female, maybe? No.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't know what to do with me, but they were very impressed. And I really realized that if they thought that well of me as a graduating student, well, I need to think that well of myself.
Exactly.
And so it just took courage, but I did it.
And so
Started
how
my
long
own
after
company.
you graduated that you started your
I was
business?
27.
27?
So what happened, I graduated when I was 21. I was married to Larry Wilson and went on his traveling spree, the first of which was Germany. And I wound up having my first child in the family in Germany. And that was around the time of the Berlin crisis. Oh. And also we were living there when Kennedy was assassinated. So it was another one of those world turmoil periods, and was a challenge to raise children in Germany, of all places, because that's when they had the Berlin Wall, and a lot of tension was between East and West Berlin and Russia again. So my second son was 8 months old on the airplane with my 1-year-old having his birthday in the airport. We flew back to the US and played baseball. I played tag. And we went out to Oakland and were involved with the athletics. And then he came back to Miami to become a football coach. And my third child was born. So now I'm 27, three little babies, a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and nursing a 1-year-old. And I started my own company when I was 27.
That's how it's always done, right? That's what we all do.
Right. I really had only worked for another company 3 months before I started my own company. So I had no mentor. I didn't know anything about accounting. I didn't know anything about getting a loan or doing contract financing. And I've never financed my company. I never took out a loan.
How did you do this? How did you make this work?
I have a lot of faith in my Father upstairs who watched out for me. And I said to him, I made a deal with heaven that I would be very honorable, a great deal of integrity. The whole time that I had my business, which I sold my business when I was 65, so from 27 to 65. But I continued to work until I was 80. And I was doing a palace at the time, And I just had to keep on working. It was a lot more exciting than staying home.
So are we saying that you retired at 80?
I retired at 80, yeah.
Can we ask you how old you are now?
I'll be 84 in 3 months.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Congratulations on all of these achievements.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm wondering, though, here in South Florida, some of the hotels that you worked on, one of them was the Biltmore?
Right. So hotels was my number one expertise. In fact, Arthur Andersen and the various finance companies used to put my company in their feasibility studies, saying to a hotelier that wanted to borrow many, many millions of dollars in order to do a development, that if they would promote the financing of their project, that they insisted upon my company being on the team, because we were specialists in hotels, experts in hotels all over the world. So some of the countries that we worked at was India, China, Japan, the Arab Emirates,
Yes.
Jordan for the King of Jordan, Dubai for His Royal Highness Maktoum, the World Trade Center in Brazil, the Ritz-Carlton in Chile, Marriott's all over the world, wonderful, wonderful things. Some of them brand new, some of them historical restorations, like the Biltmore, right here in our own University of Miami backyard, Coral Gables. Yes. And that was a competition, and I was so excited to be included in that opportunity, because my boys and girl, my daughter, they used the Biltmore, which was closed at the time. I think people who are here know how incredible it was that the Biltmore was saved, and my firm was chosen design and restoration architects for the project, and we were only living 3 blocks from the Biltmore, and my children used to go and play in the basement and believed in the ghosts and had a great time. And then they came back and helped me right around the corner at the Biltmore Hotel. And it was, I think, one of my favorite projects, because it was right here in my own backyard. I felt very, very close to it and the history.
Well, now I want to get into your travels abroad. How was that experience like for you as a woman in these, in Japan, India, the Arab countries that you worked in?
It was really amazing. It was almost magical. It's a sort of synchronicity that came along with my opportunities in my career, and that was, these were the countries that least respected women, and women in business were unheard of. And for me, as a single woman, I don't mean single as far as married, but a solo world traveler, having the opportunity to work for royalty and all over the world amongst teams of men, engineers, electrical contractors, construction contractors, to be there as a lead liaison in the team was incredible. I mean, there are things that we don't really realize. In India, for instance, a lot of the demolition and construction are done by women in their saris, barefoot, on scaffolding made of bamboo. And they're there oftentimes not only with bricks in a basket on their head, but they have their babies on their back. But the important thing for me was that I had an opportunity to show the sheikhs and the kings and the royalty that their daughters, their sisters, their aunts, the women had the opportunity to really do something, be educated, and not always cloaked behind a veil and kept in the houses, which most of them are not able to drive or be out amongst the public socially. And my travels and their experience with me helped change their thinking, and I think that was a very important element of me being there at the time I was there, because it gave them a whole new approach to respecting women.
Did you feel awkward being a woman, seeing other women not even in your space?
Or even not being able to see them because they weren't.
Or not, yeah.
Right, they had to be escorted if they went shopping or went out. Even social functions, they were isolated, they were separated from the men. So there would be a male living room, a social room, and a woman's, and they did not commingle. And that is still today happening. But when I started, I never saw another woman in business. I was always alone in the construction meetings and in the client meetings and the presentations. I was it.
Obviously, your reputation was the reason why you got there, but how was the interaction with the men when you were in these countries because you were a woman?
Right. Well, in the Arab Emirates, they treated me like a queen. I had a wonderful respect, and I'm assuming it was mostly because the position I held was very high, and in their mind, an esteem to which was unlike others. And it was an experience I can't even begin to describe. A little fearsome at first, but certainly a rewarding situation. But I would travel in a separate car with curtains around the car so that no one could see me as I drove to and from a construction site, and all the men would go in cars after me. I loved it. I did get a lot of looks, and I'm sure a lot of thoughts and behind-the-scene comments, and maybe even resentment and jealousy. But it was my job to do that, to help educate the world.
You certainly did.
I was never hurt. I was never in danger, even though I would arrive at 3 in the morning in Mumbai, and the airport would be filled with poor street people in their loincloth and sleeping on the road and traveling alone, and I was never in trouble.
At this point in your career, your children were grown by then, or they?
Yeah, and in college.
Yeah.
And my daughter majored in international studies, and she wound up being Secretary of Commerce assistant.
I wonder if her experiences were like yours as being a woman in such a high position.
And it never would have happened before that.
No.
I mean, if you remember, it's just in the 1930s that women were able to own real estate, have driver's license, have voter registration, sign documents for purchase of homes and mortgages. Women were never part of any of that, and oftentimes were left penniless because they were not recognized in the business world. So in 1930, and I'm out in the world in 1990, doing things that only men could do. My success really was a result of honesty, integrity, respect. I always did more for the project than what was expected. I never had a lawsuit. In all the years I was it's in construction, probably the most litigious of all. So I have nothing but good things to say for being one of the first to break the glass ceiling. Even Harvard brought me and 20 other leading women in the United States to their graduate business school, which was men only, was corporate business only. They did not have entrepreneurial training or anything planned in their curriculum. So we basically spent 2 weeks with the staff of the master's program, giving them information about women, getting their master's in business program, and entrepreneur. And they changed the graduate school for Harvard completely with us there being studied. So women like that, I think some of the .com early when women weren't really involved. There were 20 of us from California, Seattle, New York, everywhere.
And when was this?
Off the top of my head, it's in the 90s.
In the 90s,
yeah.
90 anything.
Yeah, right. So I think I was here at the right time in the right place, and God gave me, like Moses, gave me enough ability to get through it and not be hurt, and successfully.
I want to talk to you about post-retirement, because it doesn't really sound like you've actually retired. But before we get into that, I was just wondering, what advice would you give to our current students now about the success route, or, maintaining your own in the business world?
Well, there's some very important elements that I think sometimes, somewhere along the line, us gals need to stay on track. A lot of women feel that they can't balance the home life and the business life, but are doing it anyway now because they have to economically. You have to make a decision for yourself just what percentage of your time you can handle, and make sure you don't go in the wrong direction, either for your family or your career. A very difficult balance. I think not being negative, women often think they have to be truly tough and demanding, or they
tougher than men, or just...
Yes, sometimes they feel they really need to make sure that everybody respects them. But I found that they respect you even more if you are what is expected, kinder, a little softer. Just being out there and demanding that you have everything you feel you're entitled to is a long route, because in everything, if people like you, it's always so much better. If they respect the work that you do, and it can stand on its own, the fact that they like you, or if you happen to be attractive, those are bonuses. But you never should rely upon that. Right.
I see. So let's talk about now that you sold your business, and you're doing what now?
Well, I'm an artist.
Okay.
I always wanted to do that. So I am spending a lot of my time painting, doing landscape painting. It's called plein air. I've been in several shows, had a gallery for 8 years. So even before I retired, I started my own gallery and won lots of awards. And I've had a great time traveling all over the world painting. So I have a beautiful home. It's a Ringling historic home right on the water.
In
Sarasota.
In Sarasota.
Yes.
Okay.
So I always wanted to go to Ringling College, but never could even begin to afford it. So living in a Ringling home and restoring it is as close as I could get, and it's very enjoyable.
So how many pieces have you done? Your
I've done over 400. The firm itself has gone from, we started, our very first jobs were 2 hotels in upstate New York. And from then, it just kept on rolling. We've had about 400 projects, hotel projects all over the world.
But are the majority here in the
No,
United States?
most of the projects are international.
Oh.
Most of the hotels are international. A lot here, of course. We used to have 12 projects going at once, in the beginning, in the middle, or the end.
Okay. How big was your staff? You had all of these offices.
Well, when I retired, there were 300, more than 300,
300.
in the offices. Now, I also subcontract a lot of special services.
You know, sometimes people say, when they ask a parent, so do you have a favorite child? And if you had more than one child, and most parents would say, no, I love them all the same. But did you have a favorite project?
I have several projects that were my favorite.
Okay.
That's a very hard thing to do, because at the time you always think the job you're doing is the current excitement, the latest fashion, the newest opportunity. The travel was extremely exciting, and getting paid to do it, and visiting all the cultures and having that experience. So I loved the opportunity of all the foreign projects. It was great to go to China and Japan and do golf courses. I've done 37 golf projects, golf club projects, not golf clubs.
Right,
I don't play golf.
Okay.
And it was amazing. The first time I did it for the Japanese, they took me through some golf clubs that were ad hoc. In other words, they would take me into the steam rooms and the saunas, and the men were running around with towels, and it was like, because women didn't play golf initially. Mm-hmm. And in fact, even in the United States, women didn't play golf. I have done a couple of golf clubs that no women are allowed to be members, men only. So I didn't go to the opening.
Good for you.
I said, wait a minute.
It's a statement you made.
That's a statement, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. So I was also thinking about, in terms of your paintings, do you have a paintings? How many paintings have you done? Your plein air?
Painted and sold.
And so, okay.
I sold a lot of paintings. I couldn't even count. It's a pastime. Took me a long time to get the opportunity to have time between raising a family, having an incredibly arduous career.
Do you have any advice for, for alumni, particularly new alumni, people who are just graduating?
I think it's really important, having been a scholarship recipient, mm-hmm. having no other means of being educated whatsoever, I would have had a completely different life. And I can't imagine not being able to, and the controversies, and just now we have $73 billion in loans that are being paid by actually the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a better way of allowing people to be properly educated, and no one should be deprived of higher learning, especially if it's financial. Yes. How many wonderful, talented people never have the opportunity to get any better if they don't have this opportunity. So I would say giving back through scholarships is the most important thing that an alum can do. I mean, it's great to promote. It's great to go to the football games and look at the cheerleaders and scream and be hoarse, but
and come back for homecoming.
Yes, and come back for homecoming. But the best you can do is support the University of Miami and all the wonderful potential futures that are there if they only had the chance. And I know everything that I have, I owe to being first integrity, intelligence, but also a University of Miami scholarship.
That's wonderful.
It's great to be able to come here and share this story. I hope it inspires some students who thought they couldn't do it, be like the little, what is it? I think I can, I think I can, I will, I think I can. You really can. Change your mental vision, and you will go. If you keep your head down, you will walk down. If you keep your head up, you will look up, and you will see lots of sun and opportunity.
Great. Thank you so much. I think we want to have some questions from the audience. Is there anything you would have done differently as you look back? Maybe that should be plural.
Yeah, I know. That is probably the tough thing. I'm very grateful for having been a nerd in high school and nobody paying attention to me, and not being the best dancer or the most attractive or the most popular. I was none of those things. I was super low on the totem pole. And then going to college and almost immediately turning into this wonderful opportunity. So was it the opportunity, or was it my fresh look at the situation? And I'd say it's my attitude. Attitude is very, very important, and it's unlimited.
Are there any sayings or any Yeah, any sayings that you've come across in life that have motivated you to keep going that you could share with others to help them?
Okay, so it's very personal, but I really have to say, without being corny, that God is my best friend. He's always on my shoulder. I'm a daughter of faith. My phrases that I love are psalms. As long as you have an elevated inspiration in your life, you're never going to go wrong. So whether it's your mom who motivates you, whatever is around you that you can take the best inspiration with.
What advice would you give to students who are aspiring to get into male-dominated industries?
Well, if architecture of hotels isn't male-dominated, I don't know what is, but there is no limits. You have to see yourself as a wonderful person with the great things to contribute and show people through good performance and be honest. I think honesty is rare today, integrity. But you know, the cream rises to the top. It really does. People notice. Word of mouth. I didn't have marketing teams. I didn't have a website when I started. All the social media. I didn't have any of that. It was word of mouth. To me, it's super serendipity by just saying, I'm going to be honest and good, and I'm going to get there because I am honest and good.
So you've had so many accomplishments. Is there anything, is there a next project that you have in mind?
What? Okay, I think that writing, I'm in the process, I'm almost finished with one book. I have published another book, and I'm working on 2 more. But I think the voice of the progress of women is the most interesting thing that we have right now, because we have come a long way, baby, and we have a long way to go. But to talk about it more so that more people will feel open to the fact that the economic deprivation which I had was definitely not an illusion.
One of your mantras, I understand, is ignore what you don't have and zigzag your way up.
Absolutely. Keep on. I believe in the path, and you don't know necessarily where you're going, but you have to trust your intuition. That's one of the I's: integrity, intuition, intelligence. But your path forward is a lot of decisions you make along the way, and it's like this, you know? And you don't know, you're not like this, so you don't think you're getting anywhere, but you are. I just say keep on questioning, keep on readjusting. All of a sudden, once you're at a certain plateau and you turn around and look at what you've accomplished, and you don't think, you might be discouraged, but you look back and you say, wow, where was I 10 years ago when I was in high school and I really thought I was a flop and I really thought I was ugly and nobody had any social interest in me? And then all of a sudden, here you are, better educated, your second job, things are looking good, and then you go on to the next plateau. But trust your discernment of your own intuition, and then have the integrity to establish that. Make I, not I, but what I can do out there. And my future, I hope, is telling the story, either through speaking, which I need a refinement on that, and writing, but to encourage others is what I really want to do.
Well, Lynn, thank you so much for being here today. We've learned a lot, and it's just been a thrill and a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you. On behalf of the Women of the U, thank you so much for joining our premiere of Golden Girl, Breaking the Mold. To learn more about our incredible alumna, Lynn Vinocur Wilson, visit Lynn Wilson Associates International.com. The Women of the U program supports the Women's Guild Scholarship. Women over 20 years of age whose undergraduate or graduate studies have been interrupted or postponed for 1 year or more due to family, career, monetary, or other personal reasons are eligible to apply. Applicants must meet academic criteria. Before attending the University of Miami, applicants must have lived in Broward, Miami-Dade, Monroe, or Palm Beach County.